So again, welcome everybody to College Day 2021. I own my future. What tools will help you get there? It's October 27th. This will be recorded. Go ahead and turn off your camera if you do not wish to be recorded. Please use the chat box to ask questions, and please go ahead and mute your microphone. And if at any point I do hear any ambient noise, I'll go ahead and mute you for you. So welcome everybody. This is Wisdom Wednesdays with your local scholarships facilitated by the Northern California College Promise Coalition. And I will introduce our esteemed panelists in just a moment. This is part of today's full schedule of activities. And you are at this part of the agenda at 5 o'clock. Note that we would highly recommend as a follow-up from this, if you have some more time to spend with College Day, to join the 6 p.m. session, How to Pay for College. And that's with our colleagues at CalSO College Success Collaborative. They'll talk about financial aid and cash for college and have resources in English and Spanish. It's my pleasure to be here with you all today. My name is Meredith Curry. I go by Mare. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the Executive Director of the Northern California College Promise Coalition. This video will be posted on our YouTube channel, but you will find out about the video recordings again through the College Day 2021 committee. The coalition is a regional effort to bring together leaders and practitioners, different scholarship, college access and success programs, college promises and neighborhood promises together here in Santa Clara County and across the Bay Area to improve outcomes for students, both in getting you to and through college and into careers. So today we'll be talking about how to access as much financial aid as you can in order to pursue whatever pathway you so choose. I'm gonna go ahead and introduce our panel in just a few moments, but I thought I would walk us through our program first and then just talk a little bit about what is a scholarship. So first, I want to just note we're gonna talk about what scholarships are, when you can apply to them, just really high level. Then I'm just gonna share the coalition's two hashtags, Wisdom Wednesday and Free Money Friday, in hopes that you will follow us on Twitter and Instagram to learn more about the different resources that are available to you, reminders about the FAFSA and California Dream Act, local and national scholarships, et cetera. I'm gonna introduce you to our wonderful panelists and the organizations they're here representing. I'm gonna lead our panel through a Q&A where they'll walk you through their scholarships, their tips and tricks, and also just their insights about the whole process of affording the college pathway you choose. And then last, we'll open it up for Q&A. So again, at any time, if you have questions, please post them in the chat. I'll go ahead and organize those questions for the end. But also we will see those questions so that as our panelists are also observing the chat, they may be able to weave some answers through our conversation today. So first, what is a scholarship? A scholarship is free money. It should be money you do not have to pay for to apply or to access. And it's available for you for some scholarships as early as middle school, some even earlier. They have different ways of accessing them. Some are by application. Applications you might think may need to be essays, but some could be video contests or poetry contests. Some are only for your neighborhood or the high school that you graduated from, or even your city. And then others really depend on which college you go to. And that's why we're excited that the scholarship panel includes one of our local colleges, Santa Clara University. A few tips I just want to share as we go through the conversation, and I'm sure our colleagues will have way more tips. But basically, as you're applying for scholarships, organizing your deadlines and keeping track of what you have and haven't done would be a good way to just organize yourself and make sure that you're on track, staying on top of your scholarship applications, and staying motivated. Apply to as many as you can, given your capacity and given what you are, what you qualify for, but make sure you ask around. Sometimes scholarships are very local and they're not posted on websites, or you don't know about the websites to find out about them. So that's why we're really excited to have local scholarship programs telling you about what they have to offer in their neighborhoods. Wisdom Wednesdays and Free Money Fridays are two hashtags that the coalition has on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. For Wisdom Wednesdays, in addition to things like mental health, we talk about local resources by affinity groups, and other important topics. Free Money Fridays is really about how to access that free money. So what kind of applications you need to complete, by when, what scholarships are available, local or nationally, and any other resources to help you pay for college, such as paid internships and fellowships. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and start to introduce us, you all, to our panel today. First, we have Carla Moran, South Bay Program Manager for 10,000 Degrees. 10,000 Degrees has a scholarship designated to help first-generation students facing financial hardships to elevate the financial burden of paying for college, apologies. Our scholarship comes with a community of individuals who are ready and willing to help students succeed in their college journey. Students who are eligible for this scholarship are high school seniors, first generation, and are facing financial challenges. There is no GPA requirement, and they support all students regardless of their documentation status, and support is free. So we're really excited to have Carla here with us today. And joining her from the 10,000 Degrees team is Joseph Garcia, South Bay Community College Fellow. And he wants everybody to know that students really need to have everything that they need to get their applications ready to go for these scholarships. Want to ensure that you know any requirements, and I'm sure that they will talk more about those requirements in a bit. The majority of scholarships are for students from Bay Area regions such as Santa Clara, but also Marin, Sonoma, San Francisco, Contra Costa, San Mateo, and Napa counties. Welcome, Joseph. We're excited to have joining us today, Ray Loftus, Assistant Director of Financial Aid at Santa Clara University. At Santa Clara University, they have a very vibrant and excited financial aid team ready to support you if you're applying to or planning to enroll at Santa Clara University. And they'll walk you through everything you need to know, not just in scholarships, but also the financial aid applications, things like how to navigate verification, appeals, all of that fun stuff. And we'll hear more about the scholarships they specifically have to offer to students of Santa Clara, but they're general tips and tricks for all students in how to access financial aid at your campus. Glad to have you here, Ray. We welcome Lisa Lopez, Director of College Access for Destination College at ScholarMatch. And I'm excited to have ScholarMatch here. I was actually a volunteer coach for ScholarMatch myself a couple of years ago, and it's a really great program. So we encourage you to participate in all of these great programs because they all have local people just like you and me who are supporting local students. ScholarMatch provides targeted funding that supports college persistence and career readiness, providing up to $25,000 in targeted financial support. And they also have funding for emergency and career development funds as needed. You have access to a college advisor. They provide career mentoring, and you'll learn more about what they have to offer in just a bit. Welcome, ScholarMatch and Lisa. And to close out our introductions, welcome to Vanessa Magana, Program Coordinator for the Peninsula College Fund. The Peninsula College Fund seeks to empower low-income first-generation college students to graduate and obtain a job that aligns with their career goals. They provide scholars with $3,000 per year, renewable for 4 years for a total of $12,000, a mentor throughout the college career, internship support, and the opportunity to participate in lots of different college and career workshops and activities. And you'll learn more about each of these different programs and these great local leaders as we start our panel Q&A right now. So I would like to encourage all of our panelists. I didn't get to give your full introduction. Please use this first question as an opportunity to let the audience know who you are and what brings you here. So first, question for the panel. Why does your scholarship exist? Who is it intended to serve? So first we'll have ScholarMatch, followed by Santa Clara University, Peninsula College Fund, and to close us out, 10,000 Degrees. Go ahead, Lisa.
Awesome. So hi, everybody. My name is Lisa Lopez. I am the Director of College Access at ScholarMatch, and I oversee what's called our Destination College Program, which is our high school programming for rising juniors and seniors. I'll give you a little bit more information about our program model and how it's evolved over the last 10 years and who do we serve now and who our scholarship model is intended for. So when we were founded 10 years ago, we started as a crowdfunding organization, meaning that students who attended San Francisco high schools were coming to us asking us, I am short $1,600 for my bill for college, or I need $300 to pay for books. So each of our students would create a profile, and then we would just ask anybody and be like, can you help us pay for the rest of these students' expenses? And what we noticed is that the majority of those students were the first people in their family to go to college and or were low income. So that's how the scholarship model started when we first were founded. Now it's a little bit more differently. We've evolved. We recognize that those same students were like, they needed money the next semester, but then they needed money the second and third and fourth year. And we realized actually we need a more comprehensive model. And so now what we do is that we provide up to $25,000 in scholarship support, and it's intended for students in the San Francisco Bay Area, but our model has evolved. We also have students in Los Angeles and also have students across the country. So we are sometimes able to provide additional scholarships to students across the country. It's still intended for first generation and low income students. Right now it's up to $25,000. And like Mira mentioned, it's targeted financial support. So that means that we provide money for school-related expenses. We also provide funding for career-related expenses. Students get up to $500 in activity funds. And then the big component of our program is that we do a loan repayment process. And that's something that we noticed over time is that when we would give the scholarship to the school, they would decrease the amount of grants and scholarships that they would receive and ultimately penalize the student. And we didn't want that. And so that's why we ended up changing our scholarship model. We also provide technology funds for students as needed, emergency funds like Mer mentioned, and also career development funds. And then the other big component of our scholarship model is that you have an advisor that works with you for the next 4 or 5 years while you're in college. And then another new component of our program is the career mentoring. So like Mer mentioned, she was a college coach, but we also have career coaches as well that provide even additional support for like resume building, cover letter, interviewing, and supporting students in applying to the internship. So right now, our scholarship is open to any student in the San Francisco Bay Area. So we have students from all over, from Antioch, from Silicon Valley, Sunnyvale, from Marin, the Peninsula, because we're not only, we have a drop-in center, but we're virtual this year. So we're definitely able to support additional students in the process. So, and it's still open for first generation and low income students who meet that particular criteria.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Ray, why don't you go ahead next?
Thank you. So Santa Clara University does have scholarships that are university scholarships. Those, though, are going to be intended to go to students who apply to and ultimately attend the university. So we're a little bit different from all the other wonderful people on the panel today because our scholarships, rather than being open to absolutely everyone, are open to students who are attending Santa Clara. But we'll talk a little bit more about how the university works with a lot of the scholarships that you students and your children will be applying for and how it works into your financial aid at the university level.
Wonderful, Ray. Thank you so much. Vanessa, why don't you go next?
Yeah. So our scholarship, the Peninsula College Fund, exists to give first-generation students from low-income households from the Peninsula or San Jose area an opportunity to fund their college education, as well as secure a job that aligns with their career goals after graduation. So it's intended for 4-year college-bound students from all of Santa Clara and San Mateo County for the very first time. So PCF was originally only serving specific partner schools in the Peninsula San Jose region, but now we've decided to open up our application in hopes that we can reach a wider, more diverse range of students. So super excited to be opening it up and seeing some applications from some different students.
Thanks, I'm glad to have you here, Vanessa. 10,000 degrees.
Hello, my name is Joseph Garcia. I am a fellow for 10,000 Degrees, and I'm also an alumni of the program. 10,000 Degree scholarships exist to provide equitable opportunities for a population that isn't traditionally supported. We serve students from low-income first-generation backgrounds, as well as students who are undocumented. There is no GPA requirement for our program. We provide scholarships to students in several regions: Marin County, Sonoma County, Richmond, Napa, San Francisco, and it's our second year providing scholarships in San Jose, specifically the Eastside Union School District. I'll add to this, once students receive our scholarship, they're paired off with a fellow that will support to and through college and help them through their college journey.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing on 10,000 Degrees, Joseph. All right, so let's go to our next question for our great panel here today. And thank you so much to them for spending this time with us. So second question, where do scholarships come from? And for this, we're going to ask Santa Clara University, then 10,000 Degrees, followed by ScholarMatch. Why don't you go first, Ray?
Thank you. So Santa Clara University uses donor-funded endowments to fund our university-funded scholarships to students. This would be things like our Santa Clara University Need-Based Grant, the Santa Clara University Bronco Scholarship. So those work for both our need-based grants and our merit scholarships. And we do have 3 merit scholarships that are full tuition, anywhere from full tuition to any amount. So we have quite a few different types of scholarships, and those are generally funded by the donor endowment. We also have federal and state need-based scholarships, and this is not unusual for any school, but we, as a private 4-year institution, are able to do the Cal Grant. We're also able to do the Cal Grant Dream Act awards, and we also do Pell Grant, and so I'll talk a little bit later about what you would need to do to apply for those. And then of course we also accept scholarships, what we call outside private or private scholarships from donors like the 1,000 Degrees and Peninsula College Fund and those other wonderful institutions.
Great, thank you. 10,000 Degrees, how about you? Where do scholarships come from?
So our 10,000 Degrees scholarships come from generous donors, investors, and foundations. This is how we're able to support more students in our communities. And so by their generous donations. And sometimes even when they had a lending hand when they were in college, they want to pay it forward. So that's where our funds come from for our scholarships.
Thank you so much, Carla. And Lisa, would you like to go next?
Yes, and similarly to 10,000 Degrees, our scholarship is also funded by the generous donations of individuals, family foundations. Like Mayor mentioned, we have volunteers. So sometimes our volunteers actually end up becoming scholarship donors as well because they see firsthand the work that they're doing. So that's another great way that we get generous donations from many of our volunteers who end up volunteering with us.
Thank you so much, Lisa. And if you want to stay ready for the next one, our next question is, what is the biggest hurdle for students to apply to scholarships? So Lisa, if you'd like to go first, followed by 10,000 Degrees, then Peninsula College Fund, closing us out on this is Santa Clara University.
Yeah, I think from our perspective, this is feedback that we get from our students, is that one of the biggest hurdles that students mention to us is lack of information of like where to find scholarships. They don't even know where to begin. And we know the internet is a vast place. Like you can literally type a word and a lot of things will pop up. And so that's something that we notice a lot from our students. They're like, one, they don't know where to begin the research process. Once they begin the research process, they feel overwhelmed with the amount of information that they have to process and the amount of websites that they have to sift through to find the scholarship that they potentially meet the eligibility criteria. So that is something that we notice as a big hurdle. And I think what we then notice is that students feel overwhelmed and then don't want to go through that process, because then they're like, well, I don't even know where to begin. Who's going to help me research? I don't even know if I meet the eligibility criteria. The deadline is coming up really shortly. Will I have enough time to even apply to the scholarship? So time is a big hurdle. Not only are you applying to college, you're applying to financial aid applications, and then you also have to apply to scholarships at the same time. So again, there's a lot going on. And another hurdle is like, how do you manage your time effectively when you're balancing multiple different applications at the same time? And so that's something that our students, find a challenge with. Like, how do you support them with time management? How do you help them not feel overwhelmed during this process and feel like, I know what I'm doing. I have my deadlines. I have the person who's helping me with these applications, either with helping me with my essays or writing my letters or recommendations. So I would say that's like a hurdle. It's like where to find the information. Once you find it, well, what do you do with that information? And two, then how do you manage all this information with, with limited time that you have? So how do you make everything work with the time frame that you have?
Thank you so much for that, Lisa. Tons of tips there. I really appreciate it. 10,000 degrees. Would you like to go next?
Once similar to Lisa, not knowing about the support and resources that are available for students to obtain higher education. And also many students have a lot of things to balance, such as school, work, and families, that scholarships tend to be overlooked.
Thanks for that, Joseph. Super solid. Peninsula College Fund.
Yeah, I think to kind of build off of what Lisa was saying, I think students can get really overwhelmed with all the information and the opportunities that are out there, and they can often get discouraged by that. And so, I think when students aren't tailoring their search to them, like filtering through, it can just be a lot, and it is really time consuming. But I do like to think of it in a perspective of like, if the student spends 1 hour applying for a $500 scholarship and they end up winning it, that student just got $500 in an hour. And let me tell y'all, there's not a lot of jobs out there that you can get $500 in an hour. So I like to think of it in that kind of way. So it's definitely something you have to put that time and dedication into. And then also when you do put that time and dedication into something and then you don't end up winning that scholarship, it's like, well, why am I going to continue to do this process and I'm just not getting it? So it's, it's just a constant battle, and also like balancing, as Joseph said, balancing the different applications that they may be working on. And so definitely utilizing that support that may be around you is a huge thing. And just to know about something, that the way that scholarships may be designed, some of them may be a little bit more competitive than others. So like PCF, for example, we only have a limited number of scholarships that we can offer to students. And so, we have, on top of the application, we have an interview process. And so it's a little bit more intensive than maybe some other scholarships may be. But I mean, there's other scholarships where I remember when I was an undergrad, I would come across scholarships and they're like, please apply. We only have had 2 students apply and we have 5 scholarships to give out, so there's some where they're like practically begging students to apply. And because of that, thousands of dollars are literally left on the table. So please don't let that be you. Apply to scholarships far and wide, and you'll get something.
Thank you for that, Vanessa, and thank you for raising the fact that money is left on the table. So it is worth it to go after it. Thank you so much. Ray, why don't you go next?
Absolutely. Everybody's made excellent points. And we find from the university perspective, the biggest hurdle that a lot of students mention, or parents, they'll say, oh my goodness, I didn't know what the deadline was. I didn't realize there was a deadline. I didn't know there was more than one deadline. I wasn't even sure where to apply. So for example, the FAFSA can be done as early as October 1st of the year before. So even right when you're first thinking about starting to submit those college applications, you can already put in your FAFSA. So a lot of people don't realize that. And then there's a few steps that they don't realize they need to maybe do before they start applying for things, like they'll go to do the FAFSA and not realize they had to have an FSA ID. So to that end, I actually have a brief presentation here that I'd like to share with you guys, just to sort of address some of those things that we feel like all it takes is just a quick little bit of information, and all of a sudden you're going to know a lot more about how to avoid some of those pitfalls. So the first thing is to, when you're going to do your FAFSA, you need to create an FSA ID, both you and your parent. If you are a dependent student, your parent, who is your custodial parent, you need to make FSA IDs, 2 independent ones. This gives you a little bit of information about that. You need to do it before you start your FAFSA. You can start the FAFSA as early as October 1st for the next year's academic year. So you'll need a social security number, and you'll need a mobile phone or email address to verify that link. And then we gave you here where to go to start that FSA ID. And then you'll need your prior year income. So for example, the one that you can fill out now for next year, you're going to use your 2020 tax information. It's going to give you an expected family contribution, which roughly translates to the amount that you and your parent would reasonably be expected to contribute towards your college education. And you want to make sure, especially for you California students, that you complete your FAFSA by March 2nd so that you can qualify for the Cal Grant. This is the same if you are a DREAM Act applicant. You want to make sure you're not going to be doing the FAFSA, but you want to make sure you get that California DREAM Act application in by no later than March 2nd, because that is money that's sitting out there ready for you that you could be eligible for. But if you miss that deadline, you're out of luck. So this gives you the link to it, and you just go out to the California Student Aid Commission website, Web Grants, and you're going to complete the application online there. The CSS profile. This is an application some of our parents and students tell us they did not even know existed. This is primarily used by private institutions, but this is, for example, the CSS profile is the financial aid application that Santa Clara University uses to help determine our university-funded need-based aid, so the non-academic aid. This one does have a fee to apply, but it's administered by the same people that do this SAT. So it's a College Board. You can just go on their College Board website and then you can complete that. And we definitely recommend people do that. One thing I wanted to talk about very briefly is when you do receive, you're working really hard to get these outside scholarships, and you've gotten them, and then now you're going to your university, you've picked your university, and you want to make sure you get every single dollar that you have worked so hard to get applied towards your cost of tuition and your cost of attendance. So one of the ways that's determined is by your financial need. This is a very simple, the cost of attendance at the university where you are going to be attending, minus that expected family contribution number from your FAFSA, is going to equal your financial need at that institution. So this is where it will determine what other financial need-based aid you're going to get, like, for example, the Pell Grant, and then how much of your scholarship money you might need to fill that gap. So the only other thing that I might say and add here is that your need is going to affect your program eligibility, like the Pell Grant, and whether or not you're eligible for federal work study, or we want to minimize loans, but there is a loan that does not accumulate interest while you're in school. If you are eligible for a Chafee grant, some students who don't realize that they are in the foster care system are automatically eligible for a Chafee grant. All you have to do is fill out the FAFSA, and then they'll tell you that. So that's why the FAFSA is so important. Sometimes there's things you didn't even realize you're eligible for. Just fill out that FAFSA on time and you can find out. And then the one thing that we feel very strongly about as a university, we do not reduce a student's offered aid from our university because you bring in a scholarship from outside, an outside or private scholarship. You want to make sure that the universities you're considering attending that is not their policy, that their policy is that you can add that on top of the aid that you're going to be receiving from the university, and that they will not reduce their university offered aid when you bring that scholarship in. And that's it. Thank you for looking at that with me for a minute. I appreciate that. if anybody is interested or would like a copy of this slide with the links, I'll go ahead and leave my email in the chat. And then of course, there's also on the slide, and I'm more than happy to email it to anybody who's interested.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for that detailed overview. Really appreciate it. And I think folks will appreciate the slides if it's possible to get that. So I can provide that in the YouTube description. So folks, our next question, and I believe this is the next question, right, folks? So fourth question, what happens to the scholarship? And we got a little bit of that explanation from Santa Clara University right now in terms of their approach to outside scholarships. But for all of our other scholarship panelists here too, this question is also about what you do with your scholarship when you do award it to a student. So Ray, if you'd like to stay on to answer next, for Santa Clara, if you just want to reiterate and add any additional points, what happens to those outside scholarship students get and any internal scholarships or institutional ones?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So we award a little bit differently from other colleges, and it's important for students to understand that it's a good idea for them to check with each institution that they are seriously considering attending to find out the different nuances to how things are awarded. But in our case, we award incoming students, whether they're a first year student or whether they're an incoming transfer student from a community college or wherever, they are offered an award upon their admission that is guaranteed until they complete their 4-year degree. So in the case of an incoming first year, it would be four years, or an incoming transfer student would be 3 years, or we say 12 consecutive quarters, not including summer, or 9 consecutive quarters, not including summer. And then if they receive, so they're guaranteed that initial award each quarter that they attend until they get their degree up to that limit. But then if they get outside or private scholarships, those awards are added on top of the aid that they have been offered and guaranteed from the university. So we do not diminish our university funded aid when they bring in those outside scholarships. And that's a very important point to me. To me personally, I feel like you guys have worked really hard to earn every penny of that, and you need to get every single penny of that. So that's how we do it here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ray. And thank you for just giving us a sense of what happens at the campus perspective. Vanessa, would you like to go next?
Definitely. Thank you for your response, Ray. I think this is an interesting question just because I don't think students really understand the difference between getting their money directly to them in comparison to getting it sent to the college or university. And I mean, no fault to the student because I don't think that information is usually very explicit. So I'm glad to hear that Santa Clara University does not make any adjustments to the funding that students earn. And so PCF in particular, we give our scholars the option to choose whether they want the funding sent directly to them or to the university. And this is because there have been instances of scholarship displacement, which in short is when a university or college reduces their financial aid after a private scholarship is applied to a student's account. So hopefully this example makes sense because I'm like not very auditory learner. So I don't know if me throwing these numbers are really gonna help, but say a university that you plan to attend is awarding you a $2,000 grant, and then you earn a $500 scholarship from an outside organization. Rather than you getting that $2,500 applied to your account or sent directly to you, the school might decrease their amount, that grant, from $2,000 to $1,500, so that in total you're only getting $2,000, and that's so they avoid overpayment. Because to them, overpayment is when financial aid has been applied to tuition fees, and they're like, cool, you're good, you're covered. But I mean, a lot of the times, students still need that money, that scholarship money, to go towards books, supplies, and other college expenses. And so there's actually 2 bills on the table right now, one to try and stop scholarship displacement from happening, and another that if this is going to happen, that they are at least being very public about this policy that's in place, and students are just aware of what's happening to their money because yeah, if you're applying to a scholarship, you should absolutely be getting that money. And so, and not all students face this. So this is why with PCF, we give the students the opportunity to choose how they want their money sent to them, because we want them to make the best financial decision for themselves and their situation. But yeah, if anyone else on the panel has anything else to talk about scholarship displacement, or if I missed anything, please do add in, because I think it's a really important topic that not a lot of people are aware of.
And I appreciate you all giving so much more context to it. And I'll pass it on next to Lisa, but I'll also post a link to a guide where folks can explore more about scholarship and displacement. Go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah, for ScholarMatch, we also provide the funds directly to students, and that's because of scholarship displacement, because we don't want any other form of institutional grants and scholarships to be removed or decreased as a result of them receiving our scholarship. So the way our scholarship works is that we give them a certain amount. Part of the scholarship includes school-related funds. So school-related funds are like books that you need to purchase, food that you need to purchase, or anything outstanding that you need to pay for, like a bill. You're like, oh, I still need to pay for this for my bill, for like tuition and housing. So part of those scholarship funds go to pay for that. The other part is that students also receive activity funds. And again, they receive the funds directly. So if you want, you're like, hey, I'm an art major and I want to go to this art conference. Cool. You have money to use that money to go to this art conference, because ultimately you're majoring in art, and that's something that you want to do. You want to learn more about art. So we give those funds directly to our students. And so they get the funds directly every fall, or every fall quarter, or every semester, depending on where they're at in college. And so I think that's worked really great for our students, since we've updated our policy just to meet the needs of our students.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lisa. And thank you to all of our panelists for sharing more about scholarships, what to expect next steps when you do get it after all of your effort, and how to work with your colleges and your members to ensure that you maximize your aid. So that question was on what happens to your scholarship. Next, we're going to talk about what can families do to support their students in applying to scholarships. So first we'll have 10,000 Degrees, then PCF, and then ScholarMatch.
Yes, this is a great question. And I think one of the main things that we do to our families, we try to first start the information in the high schools that we're at. And so essentially start talking to them about college and scholarships and all the additional help that exists outside. But I think one of the things is also being able to support their student on these transitions that they're going through, whether that's balancing school and sometimes students work. So also that responsibility, and also knowing that they're going through different processes and different applications that might be overwhelming, and it might be really new to them. So just understanding that there's confusion and overwhelmness and just different things that are going on with them, and being that support system for them. Sometimes that's not all the case in some families, and so being that support system or community member that can support them, I think that's very big. And also learning together. I think that's a thing that we can also encourage, that it's a learning process for families and students, and so to do research together, and so going through applications and asking questions. I think one of the things that we always emphasize and encourage parents to do is to ask questions, whether that's to the school directly or to any institution that their students are applying for, or just going to their website, if they have the access to technology, that's like something that they can look into. And so that's some of the things that we ask and provide, and also encourage families to do, to just support each other, and also being able to learn together through the process.
Great, thank you so much, Carla. Next, we have Peninsula Collegeman.
I really love this question, and I loved your answer, Carla. I definitely think it's a learning process for the student and the family, and the student will absolutely need support and guidance through this process. And if you're a first generation student like I was, going through the college application process is tough, and family may not know how to even where to start, and may not know much about college. And so I just think that the support can go beyond that. One way that I remember working with a student was the parent was basically helping them like brainstorm ways, like they had an essay portion to the scholarship, and so they were brainstorming together of like, okay, let's see how we can answer this question. Let's do some self-reflection. And I thought it was just a beautiful way of like, it wasn't anything that the parent had to know about college or the scholarship. It was just knowing their own student, and just being able to work with them throughout the process. So something like that is even really helpful, or just being there while the student is working on it. I think that emotional support can go a really long way for the student. So yeah, definitely support in any way that you can.
Yes, totally agreed. Thank you so much. And to close us out on this question, ScholarMatch?
Yeah, I think something that we receive feedback from our students in the process after they've applied to college is that they sometimes mention that sometimes their parents and family members are not supportive about the decisions that they're making during the college application process. And what I'm referring to is like the specific majors or colleges that students are applying to. So if students are like, well, I'm thinking about applying in art, and parents are like, nope, you can't do that. You shouldn't apply to that major. Or we have students who are like, I'm going to apply to an out-of-state school, and the parent and their guardian tells them, no, you can't apply to an out-of-state school. And we see a lot of students feeling very defeated during the process because this is a really big decision. You're trying to figure out where you're going to apply and attend to college, and it's a pretty big process. It's a, once you graduate from college, once you graduate from high school, you're gonna go off to college. And so my recommendation for parents and families is, even if you may not necessarily agree with some of the choices or decisions that your child is making, ask them more questions about why they're choosing that particular major or why they're thinking about applying to that school. Even if you don't know anything about it, just ask more questions, because you may get more information about their thought process as to why they're applying to that school or why that major is of interest to them. Because nothing hurts more to have a parent or a family tell you no when you're thinking about your dreams for the future. And so that would be my main recommendation. The other thing is financial aid applications. I don't think parents realize that, or don't understand that, when you're applying to financial aid applications, the parental information is important. You need the parents to support you and give you the information that the student needs. So that means that having access to like your taxes. And I recognize that there's hesitation from a lot of parents to be like, you want me to share very important information about financial information with you and then put it somewhere on the internet. I get it. I get that hesitation. But I think, again, ask questions. There's a reason why they need that information. And I've seen so many students who can't even apply to college, don't even finish the financial application because their parents refuse to give them the information that they need. And I think just ask questions and be like, well, what is it that you need? Why do you need this? Great. And if you want somebody else to walk through the process with you and explain it, like a mentor or their college counselor, follow up with them so they can explain it to you. So I would say that, ask as many questions as you can, even if you're like, I still don't know what's going on. Ask as many questions as you can so they can clarify that, and trust that your student is doing the best that they can with also the limited information that they have during this process as well.
Thank you so much for that, Lisa. And I would just like to note that also, depending on your situation, your parents may not file their taxes at the same cadence as everybody else. And so that creates other challenges and questions. So just encourage you to work with your high school counselors. If you're working with any community programs like the ones here, ask questions as you need to of your college financial aid office. But there may be those other unique circumstances where, yes, all the patience that you can offer your students as they're navigating this with you, it's a lot of different transactions, absolutely, that they have to track. So as we're getting to the end of our panel, we're going to ask our last question. And for our members who maybe want to highlight their scholarship application website or any of their favorite resources, panelists, you should be able to share your screen. But this last question for our group is, what are the top 1 to 3 resources and or tips you send to students or would want to share with students and families on this call right now so that they can explore and start submitting scholarships? So we'll start off with our campus, Santa Clara University, and then followed by 10,000 Degrees, PCF, and ScholarMatch.
Thank you, Mayor. So probably my number 1 tip is I have a lot of students say to me, oh, I didn't even apply to that for that one because it was only $500. Apply for it. Apply for every small scholarship. You know, it was said earlier, and it is so true. $500 for an hour, that's a really great return on your investment in time. Apply for every single scholarship that you can. The other one is that what I mentioned before, find out how the universities you're seriously considering are going to treat your outside scholarship funds. Make sure that you're not going to lose anything of that hard, that they're not going to displace your scholarships, that you're not going to lose any of those hard-earned dollars. And then finally, and just to remember to be cautious of the scholarships you are applying for. You want to make sure that you're not giving your financial information up front. You don't ever want to pay to apply for a scholarship. You want to make sure you're applying to reputable ones. There are some frauds out there on the internet. The flags can be pretty red, so pay attention to that. But most importantly, you don't ever want to give somebody money to apply for a scholarship.
Thank you, Ray. 10,000 Degrees.
Yes, I actually want to share our screen, my screen, sorry about that. And to just let you know, one of the things that when we're in the high school, so we're currently serving Yerba Buena High School, Independence High School, and Andrew Hill. And so one of the things that we always encourage students is to go to our services. We have office hours, and so we're able to support students in workshops and just college applications, financial aid. We're currently in the process of supporting students with financial aid and having workshops, even virtual workshops. And so we are always posting and sharing with our partners, but also our website is very resourceful. And so just walking through kind of where we're at and location, but also our scholarships. And we also have translated documents and information that parents could take advantage of, but also our scholarships. One of our scholarships is actually open. And so this is also serving students that are going to plan to go into a 4-year university as well as a community college. And so this first application, the 10,000 Degrees Scholarship, is open for students attending or being part of the Eastside Union High School District. So highly encourage you to apply. It opened up October 15th and it closes March 2nd. And it's just, we are not asking for a GPA requirement or a status information. It's open for all students. And so I would highly encourage students that are eligible and meet our criteria, which is being part of the Eastside Union High School District and planning to go into either a 4-year or a community college to apply. It's a very straightforward application. Again, if we are in those high schools that you're part of or your student is, make sure that they find us. We're part of the CBOs or the college campus opportunity, like the college support programs. And so definitely we're here to support. We have fellows there and that have gone through the process of college applications. And so definitely highly encouraging students to get as many resources and also taking advantage of all the scholarships. Scholarship is free money that you don't have to pay back. And so if you could take advantage of that, then please do so. Again, our information is here. This is what the scholarship looks like and the website. If students need support, our contact information is down here. And so we can actually walk through the application with you and support you in helping fill it out, because that's also something that students struggle with, just submitting the scholarship or finishing it. And so we also don't have an essay. So that is something that is super easy for students to just literally fill out their information and kind of tell us about your grades, the school that you're planning on attending, what you want to do, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, this is our second year supporting the Eastside Union High School District, and we really want students to apply. We are in those 3 high schools, but we do have our scholarship open to all students within the Eastside Union High School District. So if you have any students, please have them apply. And yeah, that's my little tip for students and parents.
Thank you so much, Carla. And hope you all were able to lock down that website. I'll be posting all of our panelists' websites before we close. Next is Vanessa.
So my first tip kind of relates to what I was talking about at the very beginning of the conversation, is just being overwhelmed by the amount of scholarships that you might come across. So first tip is just to filter those searches. So if you're on a website like scholarship.com, there's going to be thousands of scholarships, but if you add in different eligibility requirements like a GPA, your geographic location, your major interest, your ethnicity, like that is going to give you a much more tailored list for you to search through. And I think it'll just help that overwhelming feeling and that feeling of discouragement, and just having a set of ones that you have more potential to actually get, rather than one that's like for students in Texas. My second tip would be to pay attention to requirements and deadlines. I think Ray had said it earlier about like, oh, I didn't know that there was a deadline on this. And just being realistic about which ones that you are applying to. So if there's a scholarship, for example, PCF, we require at least one reference from a counselor or an advisor. And if our scholarship is due in a week and you just came across our scholarship, think about how realistic it is that you may be able to get that reference in time. And then also really paying attention to those requirements of like, do you have to be first gen? Is it only to STEM majors? Do you have to submit a video? Just paying attention to these little details that, might make you ineligible, and you don't want to waste your time applying for something that you're eligible for. And then my last tip and resource would be just to organize the information that you're going to come across. So, what's the scholarship name? What are the requirements? What's the deadline? What's the amount? And finding a way to organize that, whether that's in a Google Sheets or just paper and pencil, however you best organize your information. So again, you aren't overwhelmed. And then when it comes to where to find the scholarships, I like to point students to websites like SCCF. I have it in the chat already. And I like this because it hosts a ton of different scholarships specifically for Bay Area students. So it has already kind of narrowed down, at least that one eligibility for you. And then also Immigrants Rising, which has a host of scholarships specifically for undocumented youth. And so again, if you fit into these specific categories, I think it's just a lot more helpful when you're looking in a space where you're going to be more eligible for scholarships compared to if you're just on scholarship.com. And also, if you have a career center on your school campus, counseling office where they have a list of resources or scholarship lists, definitely take advantage of that. Yeah, those are my tips.
Wonderful, thank you. And to close us out on this question will be Lisa. And our first question will be from a student around how they can take advantage of your programs, maybe not every piece of it, but specific components. So we'll be coming up to that next. Lisa, you want to close us out?
Yeah, so I want to share resources, and these are additional resources from what Vanessa has already shared, which we love to spotlight with our students and our volunteers. So I'm going to put this in the chat box. and then try to see if I can share my screen. So this is one resource that we like to share with students. A college counselor created this website, and they like break down like all of like the scholarships for students. We really like this because they've done a lot of the heavy work for our students. So this is just something that like we always recommend. It's grouped by major, it's grouped by deadline, it's grouped by, you know, whether you want to apply to study abroad, it's grouped by like, you know, if you're an athlete and you want to apply to like athletic scholarships. So it's really great. That's like one of the main resources that we like to share with students. Another one, it's called Scholarship Owl. And that's like another one that is open to, that's been really great for our students. So you sign up, like you just enter like your birthday, any other relevant demographic information, and then you just check for scholarships. So that's something that our students have also used in the past. Another resource that we like to share with students and a lot of our students use is College Greenlight. They've also done a really nice job in categorizing the scholarships. I'm going to put it here. It's under CAPEX, which they're now under, but it's called College Greenlight. And again, like you can search for scholarships, and it's categorized by like demographics, by grade level. So it's really great. And then another one that I want to highlight is ours. So we have like an online resource tool. So I'm going to put it here. So we also have like a couple of like scholarships that we like, big ones that we like to highlight. And then if you click learn more under the Bay Area scholarship list, we've also curated a bunch of like local Bay Area scholarships, which are some of the scholarships that our folks have already mentioned on today. So yeah, we have over 127 that we've listed on here. So, you know, we probably missed a couple of ones. So we're always looking to update this. So these are just some of the top resources that we like to share with students every month.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Lisa. And just noting that College Greenlight, I believe, also has resources like for fly-in programs, if you want to explore those, especially as campuses are opening up. So to start to close us out, our questions from the audience, and we only have one so far, folks. So if you want to post your question, now's the time. We may have time for one more question, but this one is for our panelists. Depending on your scholarship, I mean, I might ask Santa Clara University to go first, just based on what they see coming in. But can students use mentorship and internship opportunities as part of programs that they're accepted to without the financial piece, or do they need to take advantage of every part of a program's offerings?
I can speak for Santa Clara University, of course, but we do have scholarships that are not need-based. We do have some that are academic-based, and some that are we actually award what they call holistically. So it's also based on things like, you know, like if you've done a lot of community service, you know, that can work in your favor. So even if you're not a student who would be considered to have need, and then therefore eligible for some of those need-based scholarships, yes, you can absolutely be considered, and you will automatically be considered for some other non-need-based scholarships. So those can be, like I said, either merit or other academic, including some things that you may have work you may have performed, things that you may have done, things along that line. So there are different options for you, and you don't have to be able to receive both. You can receive one or the other. And then we had one other question that I got about the CSS profile. The question was, is it okay to pay to that program? Because I had mentioned not wanting to pay for a scholarship application. So I wanted to clarify a couple things really quick on that. And one is that the CSS profile is actually a financial aid application that is asked for by some universities rather than a specific scholarship donor who would be requesting funds, or scholarship. Most legitimate scholarship donors don't request funds. So it would be an application fee as opposed to a donor asking for funds. Also, it does have a waiver. So for needy students who would be considered needy, or households under 100,000 that make 100,000 or less, it is actually automatically free. So there's a little bit more information on their website, and also I can provide the links. I just wanted to clarify that a little bit, that it's a reputable company that is actually you're doing an application for.
Great, thank you so much, Ray. And if any other panelists maybe received some private questions that you'd like to share out for the benefit of everybody else here, this is a good time. But are there any other panelists who'd like to respond to this question for your specific scholarship? If you have mentorship and internship opportunities, can they take advantage of some and not all of it?
So for ScholarMatch, entry into our program and then entry into our scholarship is the students have to submit like an interest form. They're admitted, and so they have to participate in our program before they get funneled into our scholarship program, if that's what they end up wanting to do, and if they apply to our scholarship program. And so often we do have students who may not necessarily meet the financial need criteria, but there is a need for them to get the support. They're like, I actually don't have help, or I'm going to a really under-resourced high school and nobody's helping me. And so of course, we're always willing to admit students into our program to get the one-on-one college advising support that they need during that process. But that, you know, because we do have financial eligibility criteria into our scholarship, they wouldn't necessarily be eligible to apply. But of course, we want students to get the support that they need during the college application process.
Great, thank you so much. Oh, go ahead, Carla.
Yeah, I can also answer this. So like I mentioned before, we're in 3 high schools. So if they're part of the Yerba High School, Andrew Hill, or Independence, we actually have fellows on campus, and so we are providing workshops and just different tools as well as resources, so they can take advantage of that. Even because we don't have an application process for students to be part of our program unless they apply for our scholarship. And so during the school year, we're just kind of supporting all senior class, essentially also those students that come to our office and office hours and essentially ask for the support. So the resources are out there. It's just a matter of students taking advantage of that. So I think that's kind of on my end. It's just we're there if they're on our campus, and definitely they can take advantage of the support.
Wonderful. Thank you so much to all of our panelists. I don't see any other questions. Anything else from our members before we get ready to shut down this panel? No, then I just want to thank again everybody who's here with us today. If you didn't get to ask your question, I'll stay on for another moment to just maybe collect those questions, and I can route those to our panelists. I just want to start off by saying thank you so much. And 10,000 Degrees logo is updating here, but I just want to say thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. You will see in your chat that I added the link to our YouTube channel where this recording will be posted. Also, stay tuned for updates from our friends at College Day 2021 from Santa Clara County Office of Education. But again, thank you so much to our panelists. I'm going to drop in the chat just last call for everybody's links. So here I'm adding ScholarMatch, Peninsula College Fund, 10,000 Degrees, and Santa Clara University. These links will also be in our recording. Thank you so much, panelists, and thank you, community, for joining us today. If any panelists want to say any last words, this is a good time.
I'd like to say thank you so much for including us in this panel. And I want to say a very personal thank you to all of the hard work that you guys do with the scholarships that you provide to students. I see firsthand every day the difference you make in the lives of these students. And thank you very, very much.
Also want to add that if there are any students that are part of the Eastside Union High School District, please apply for our scholarship at 10,000 Degrees. Our website was shared, and so if they have any questions, please just contact us.
If there's any students who are part of the class of 2023, we're going to start recruitment in early 2022. So if you are a junior or know of a junior in the San Francisco Bay Area, go on our website, fill out our contact form, and then we'll reach out early 2022 with next steps.
And I feel like I should say something. So our scholarship is opening on Monday, November 1st for graduating seniors from the San Mateo, Santa Clara County. So that link still needs to be updated on our website. I did link it in the chat. But yeah, definitely check out our website on November 1st or after November 1st if you're interested in applying.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.